Happy Friday, everybody. Tonight, in the court of public opinion, the headlines read like a script Hollywood reject for being too messy. And yet, guess what? It's real life. Tonight, we're diving into a week where blood may be thicker than water, but not stronger than a will, as Rosie O'Donnell's daughter legally ditches the last name as well as her mother's legacy. From rappers under arrest warrants to a $4 million sexual assault judgment, hip-hop's house of cards continues to fall. And the collateral damage is women, dignity, and justice. NFL star Tyreek Hill's marriage implodes overnight, raising uncomfortable questions about power, violence, and silence in professional sports. And while Nicki Minaj escapes physical harm, she's again targeted in a swatting hoax. We're not reminding us all that fame today doesn't just come with followers, it also comes with fear. So tonight, we're not just gossiping, we're dissecting power, pain, and the price of public life. Welcome to Celebrity Court of Public Opinion, where your fame is your exhibit and your receipts are your defense. All right, joining us tonight, we have our panel of men. First up, let's welcome the author of, you know it, Shit They Never Taught You in Law School, Attorney Weiss. Welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Thank you, Your Honor. I am very excited to be here and, coming in from South Florida. I got my South Florida wear on. I'm ready to go.
Attorney Weiss, please tell us how our viewers can get a book, or if you would like, drop down in the chat how people can reach out to you just in case they want to order the book or get instructions on how to support you.
So you can go on Amazon and it's right there. Shit They Never Taught You in Law School, or you could reach out to me at jason@askjasonweiss.com, and you can find me on Instagram at askjasonweiss.com. Pretty simple. Find out any of those ways, and I'd be more than happy to send an autographed book.
All right, maybe our bailiff can run a banner across the bottom helping our viewers to get in contact with you. If you want to learn more about the law or even thinking about law school, I highly recommend the book, even though I don't know if his law school is going to be happy about the title. In fact, Jason, where did you attend law school?
I went to the University of Miami for law school, so I'm a Cane, and I went to the University of Florida for college, so I'm a Gator. So I got both ends of Florida covered.
All right, joining him tonight is the humorist at law. Yeah, you know him well, Sean Carter. Sean Carter, welcome back to Celebrity Court.
Hey, everybody, how you doing?
Attorney Carter, you have anything you selling over there besides slips?
Well, that's a good point. Glad you mentioned that. I'm not selling, but I'm buying. The tariffs on China they don't apply for purchases less than $800. So I was on Temu all day today getting slips for Renee. I got 38 slips for about $14. So I suggest you go to Temu while you can.
Lionel Seiler, welcome. T.G. Tara, welcome. Cheryl Double, welcome. SL, welcome. J.P. Mills, welcome. Tanya Kelly, welcome. Benicia Phillips, welcome back. Brenda O, welcome. Everybody, welcome to Celebrity Court. All right, we're going to start the night off with a very interesting story. Rosie O'Donnell's daughter, yep, you heard me correctly. Rosie O'Donnell's daughter, Chelsea, has officially filed a legal petition to change her last name following news that the comedian wrote her out of her will. The petition filed in Marin County, California, indicates an emotional and legal break from her famous mother, Rosie. Now, Chelsea and Rosie have had a rocky relationship over the years, publicly clashing on multiple occasions, including Chelsea's claims of abuse, yes, and Rosie's accusations of betrayal. All right, we're going to go to Attorney Weiss on this one. Attorney Weiss, how does this happen, and how often does it happen? And what do you have to do a name change petition?
So a name change petition is not going to be that difficult, right? So, think about every person that gets married and decides to take on their spouse's last name. That's all it is. So this young lady, Chelsea, she's 27 years old, and she's petitioning to change her name in January. And the timing of it was days before Rosie O'Donnell went ahead and changed her will, and then she responded to Trump's presidency by moving to Ireland. So Chelsea's a woman. She has every right to do it. But the other thing is that Chelsea has been in and out of rehabs, in and out of facilities, in and out of treatments. And her and Rosie O'Donnell have had a rough go at it over a time period. She is adopted, and it sounds like she wants to go by her birth mother's maiden name. So the more and more that this comes out here, the less and less odd it sounds, other than that she was cut out of 2 trusts that Rosie O'Donnell had. And only speculation, but my guess is that Rosie probably put some sort of clause in there that said that she needs to be clean, or she needs to be rehab, or she needs to go to therapy, something. And Chelsea probably was not willing to, took that as I'm cut out of the will, I'm cut out of the trust. Forget it. I don't want Rosie O'Donnell's last name anymore.
Now,
I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Attorney Carter. Now, if your stepmother, adopted mother, now this is your adopted mother. This is basically almost like winning the lottery,
right?
This is like winning the lottery, but walking away from it because you don't see eye to eye with somebody who adopted you and basically changed your life. Is this gonna could Chelsea actually contest the will?
She can. Everyone can contest her will. It's not going to be, as Attorney Weiss is saying, it's not going to be effective. I can contest her will, all right, and say she should have wrote me in it, but it's not likely going to be the case. And here's the thing about it is, for me, it's like you just said, I think it's an important thing to remember. You got the lottery, all right? And all you had to do was get along with your mama worth $80 million to get your piece of $16 million. All right. My mama ain't worth about $16,000. I'm getting along with her to some extent. All right. And by the way, if you out here in your algorithm, you got $16 million, you could be my mama. I would change my last name to whatever your last name is. all right, and send you Mother's Day cards and call you on Christmas. I don't even get this. Now, here's the thing is, I think it's hilarious, but this is where, you know, some of you Gen Z folks, I'm a little worried about y'all. Y'all don't think right about stuff.
Me too.
Y'all don't think right about stuff. She said her mother was verbally abusive. She was on crack. If you on crack, somebody's supposed to be yelling at you. All right, who not going to be yelling at you if you don't sold a TV set for $13? All right, you can't be mad at somebody literally who. Because think about it, I'm sure she was yelling at her, right? And the idea, like, you hurt my feelings. I'm like, no, you sold my TV set for $13, right? I can't trust you. Rosie could have done, and we don't know what she did do. There are some things she could have done other than writing her out of the will. Maybe she didn't. Maybe, as Attorney Weiss suggested, she could set up, you know, a spendthrift trust where basically you put a trustee out there that says, hey, let my daughter have some money, but don't let her get crazy. All right, when she come to you, all right, for $200,000 next week, say no. Or you can even set up an incentive trust that says, hey, and I think and Attorney Weiss was talking about this. If you meet these milestones, you get this money. All right. So if you stay clean, and every year you stay clean, you get an extra $1 million or whatever it is.
Or you're a student, you're taking classes. I want to give you $100,000 a year. Or you go to grad school. I want to give you $200,000 a year. But here's the thing, right? Rosie has come out and said in the past that Chelsea is mentally ill, been in and out of hospitals most of her life. She's sick. She's not capable of truth or reason. Those are Rosie's words. She went missing from the house where Rosie was in 2015, and she was found by authorities in Wisconsin to live with her birth mother. So a lot of this was, you know, look, this why it hit the papers now and why it did all this, because Rosie's gotten press again because of her stance, and she moved to Ireland and she did all this. But in reality, this adoptive mother and this daughter haven't really had a good relationship in years. She's 27 years old. She is an adult. And again, if you decide to get married, Sean Carter's wife could say, I didn't want to take his last name, or I did want to take his last name. And you file the petition with the court, plain and simple.
Let me ask you this. Being that she was adopted, are there any laws that require the adoptive parents to do certain things throughout the life of the child? Or being adopted, you only have to take care of them until they're 18?
Well, adopted or not adopted, you only have to take care of your children till they're 18. When they're 18 in a day, they could be out. My son's 18. I could technically say, you're out, goodbye. And prior to that, all I had to do was what? Shelter, food, welfare. That's it. I don't have to buy him a car. I don't have to get him a gold chain. But, you know, that parents do what they can. So you're not required to do more for an adoptive child or less for an adoptive child. You need to keep it's the safety and well-being of the child. If you keep that in mind at all times, you'll never go wrong.
All right, that makes sense. All right, I forgot to call. Court is now in order.
So everything we just said is all for nothing. Great, we got to start over.
Erase it. It was all lies.
Exactly. No, we'll edit this out. No, I'm kidding. All right, so this is good stuff. So she doesn't have any type of legal. Rosie has no type of legal responsibility to make sure that her daughter is taken care of because she was adopted at this age.
No,
correct.
Exactly.
Right. And the other thing is this. Look, my mother, alive and well and doing great, she could call me up tomorrow and say, I write you out of the will. And when she passes, hopefully not for 20 or 30 more years, what am I going to do? Contest because she didn't like me and I'm not getting her money and I'm not legally entitled to it unless I would say she was on drugs, she was undue influence, she was whatever. She could change her will 15 times between now and whatever. And unless I'm saying she's not mentally capable, I ain't going to win. I'm not entitled to anything.
Right.
If I gave her a loan and I wanted my loan paid back from the estate, maybe. But short of that, she could do with her stuff what she wants, adopted or biological.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. I was just thinking about it. It's probably not easy being Rosie O'Donnell's child. Can you imagine all the pressures of being her child? She's very controversial. She's very vocal. You know, she's very my way or the highway. And then on top of that, she's a celebrity. Like a mega star. Remember at one time she had one of the top talk shows in the country. Yep. So maybe we shouldn't be so hard on the daughter because the daughter may have had to go through all of that limelight.
And guess who else did? Guess who else did? Everybody with a black mama. Everything you just described about Rosie was every black mama I ever know, right? My mama talked a bunch of shit too.
Hey, wait. It's not just black. It's not just black mamas, it's Jewish mamas too. So
all right, speaking of Jewish mamas, rapper Real Boston Richey is facing serious allegations of domestic violence after his girlfriend, influencer Tatiana Chanel, filed a report claiming he physically assaulted her. The incident reportedly was caught on surveillance footage, and a warrant has been issued for his arrest. The accusations include punching and dragging her during a confrontation similar to that of Diddy and Cassie. All right, we're going to throw this to you, Attorney Sean Carter. Tell me what's going on, because from what I understand, he has felony charges, assault charges. So if arrested and convicted, is it true that Boston Richey could face some significant jail time?
Absolutely. They charged him officially with assault, family violence, impeding breathing. All right. Basically, you tried to choke this woman out. Get two. It's a third degree felony. You can get between 2 and 10 years. Now, normally that depends on, how much prior allegations you have. And he has a couple of things. He has a 2013 situation where he was arrested in a grand theft auto case. Now, he was able to get off. But by the way, I don't want to spread any rumors, but the rumor on the street is that he got out because he snitched. All right.
Oh,
same thing there was a murder case that he was involved with that he sort of somehow avoided prosecution. Everybody else in jail, but he avoided prosecution. And then there's a 2023, there's a marijuana trafficking conspiracy that is still going through the courts now. So he isn't going to be, they're going to know his name when he gets there. It's going to be like Cheers, right? No.
Oh. What the hell?
We got a video. We got a video.
Yes, it is, Shorty.
That's a little young joint?
Yes. The Tatiana girl? Yes. Ooh. Don't get clipped. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, what the hell he burning? What the hell he on? What the hell?
So supposedly he was choking her with his knee to her neck.
Well, not just
multiple times, and She was 2 months pregnant at the time.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. Now,
So-
the part that's choking, though, supposed to happen in the backseat of a car.
Yeah.
And it sounds horrible. 2 hours of this. One thing that's a little interesting about the story, though, is she says there were 2 other people in the car. And finally, after 2 hours, one of them was like, hey, cut it out. Now, here's the thing that sounds a little
That
weird.
sounds like a kinky sex thing. I'm sorry.
No, it sounds even worse than that.
He's
Because here's the
pregnant,
thing about it.
Jason. Calm down.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
That's
her.
bad.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's
I don't know about the time involved here, because here's the thing about it. If you're in a car, if you're in the backseat of a car for 2 hours and your buddy is up front choking his girlfriend, you're not going to wait 2 hours to say something. Not because you're a nice person, because you got stuff to do. What you going to do, play Angry Birds while you're choking her for 2 hours? That's a long time, right? So, but here's the thing is, when someone's choking you, it feels like 2 hours. I don't know if you've ever been able to not be able to breathe, but every second feels like forever. So chances are excellent that, it wasn't 2 hours, but that it was definitely something that was a problem here. I'm going to tell you, I'm not calling that fool real Boston Richey. His name is Jalen Foster. All right, Jalen, all right, little boy, you got to learn to talk without your hands, all right? This doesn't make no sense, all right? You can't be running around, all right, obviously doing stuff like this and think you're going to have a career. And don't call yourself Richey, all right? You ain't rich yet, all right? You still got your phone in your mama's name. All right, that gold chain you had was worth more than your house. You ain't got a house, all right? You got an apartment and a gold chain, all right? So you Boston doing okay, all right? But but the point is, seriously, is that this could be serious. And when you tack it on to the marijuana trafficking, by the way, here's the thing: is if you're in any other state but Texas, you can traffic all the marijuana you want, right? You're gonna be in the one state where it's illegal and then want to traffic it.
Also, that's one state you don't want to be in to physically assault a woman. Let's talk about really quickly for the algoriters and those who watching. When a woman experiences this type of assault, what are the things she should do besides just going to the police? Should she go to the hospital to get documented of the injuries? What are some of the things that she can do in order to make sure that she proves her case in the court of law?
Photos of everything. Photos of when it happened, photos when you're at the police station, photos over the course of the days to show that the bruises didn't heal. Remember any eyewitnesses if you can, or at least take pictures of people that were there, could see it. You're probably just going to get me, he choked me. What's your name and phone number? I need your contact information. Probably not thinking of that, but videos and photos, because look, I know for a fact when I sat on a jury years ago and there was something having to do with it, nobody on the jury believed that it happened because there was no proof. It was just her against him. But then when pictures arose, boom, that was it. That guy's ship was sunk.
Do we recommend them going to the hospital so that you can have a medical documentation? Because remember, don't they, if it's domestic violence, especially in the state of Texas, if it's domestic violence and it's physical, they take pictures as well.
They do. And look, if you're going to go to the hospital for just bruising, you should go anyway, right? Get checked out. Make sure it's not just a bruise. Make sure it's, not something. So you'll have that report. But that police report is going to be pretty evident. But especially if the police say, do you want to go to the hospital and get checked out? Say yes. Or at least go that same day or the next day, go get checked out.
All right, algorithms, we're coming out hot in the game tonight with the gentlemen. Be sure to hit that like button. We need for you to support the men on the panel tonight. Hit that like button. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, be sure to hit the share button and invite some friends over to learn the law off the back of these crazy celebrities that are always in trouble with the law. Don't forget to turn on your notifications. We have a big announcement tonight about the show. And last but not least, we love to see your comments. Continue to drop down in the comments. All right, next up. Oh, boy. A California jury has ordered Soulja Boy to pay over $4 million in damages to a former assistant, yep, you heard me right, who accused him of sexual assault and physical abuse. The jury found the rapper liable for multiple claims, including gender violence, which I need for y'all to explain that to me, intentional infliction of emotional distress, as well as false imprisonment. Now, remember, this was a situation where we covered on the show where he testified. We were all kind of like, oh, we don't know if that was the best thing to do. Do you think his testifying got him these type of charges? Attorney Sean Carter, let's go to you and talk to me about Soulja Boy in this civil judgment.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing that was interesting is, I have to admit, though, I confess, I was probably wrong. When we talked about this earlier, I wasn't so sure it didn't make sense to testify, because it's one thing when you don't testify because you can say I wasn't there, I didn't have nothing to do with it. But if you're there and you admit that, then you usually have to try to explain your side of the story. But I forgot it was Soulja Boy. All right. I don't even understand more than 3 or 4 words in the rap song. All right. What the hell? Who's Superman? That's all I understand. Right. So obviously his testimony was not compelling to the jury. What I found interesting about this, let me just answer your first question: gender violence. So that's what Civil Code,
gender violence?
Civil Code 524C in California says that it encompasses one or more acts that would constitute a criminal offense where the offense involves the use, attempted use, or threat of force against another person committed at least part based on the victim's gender. So the idea is that it is kind of a weird thing, right? Like, how do you know it was based on gender? But the idea, the thought is that he probably wasn't gonna punch a man, all right, in the face, to do whatever he did. So that's where they get you with that. Certainly, if it turns out to be sexual in any regard, right, then you usually, right. So then remember, there was an allegation there of SA. So it was applicable. The thing that's interesting to me, more interesting about it to me, though, is the fact that this $4.25 million verdict, $4 million of it, they said, was compensatory. In other words, that's how much actual damage he did to her, either financially for not paying her or from all the things she suffered. And the other $250,000 was punitive. And why that matters is he's going to appeal this. He said I'm going to appeal. Well, his lawyer said it. He said, he said, all right, but the lawyers are going to appeal this. And the real thing you can challenge usually in this type of case is the amount of damages. You say, you know what, they just went too far. And a lot of times a jury will get nuts and be like, I'm going to go $100 million of punitive damages. And the punitive damages is something that you can kind of reel back. It's hard to reel back compensatory damages where you say that person had that kind of damage. There's not a lot for them to be able to claw back. And of course, I think, and maybe Attorney Weiss can help us explain, how's she gonna get this money, Jason?
I don't think she's going to get it. First of all, there's going to be the appeal, like you said. Second of all, what's very interesting is they asked in the closing statement to award the victim, Jane Doe, of course, Jane Doe, the same Jane Doe, which we know that, $73.6 million. That's what they asked for. So they gave her $4 million. So that is a tiny, tiny fraction. Here's the other thing. He also was sued for assault and kidnapping in 2021 and was ordered to pay close to $500,000 there. So look, $400 million judgment, $250,000 in punitives. The $250 in punitives, like you said, probably going to get rolled back. The $4 million, they ain't ever going to collect. What are they going to do? So he's going to appeal, and then chances are he's going to pay a small part of that $4 million if he has it, and that'll be it. I don't think he has it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this really quickly. All right. So the intentional infliction of emotional distress, all of that is rolled into the $4 million.
Right.
Yes. All right. Now, remember, weren't we talking about this is the assistant that worked for him for 2 years, lived in a house with him, but never got paid? I need that assistant's job. Are they using that as like that unpacked, like she wasn't getting paid? So over that 2 years being his blunt roller, allegedly, like you said, that the courts are saying, okay, a part of this award is also the money that you didn't get for being his assistant for 2 years.
That's part of it, a small part of it. Yeah. The other part of it, though, is if you actually, assault someone, then they have psychological damages, right? She needs therapy, she's hurt, all those things, and that will count as well. And so, now as far as her getting the money, Soulja Boy, when he had to pay his ex baby mama, or I guess baby mama, was at $450,000. They eventually had to go take his Bentley, right? He didn't pay up the money. They eventually went and took all of his jewelry. Look, it took it right off his wrist, right? They were like, come on in here. And so he wasn't paying that. I don't know how he's going to come up with 10 million. They're going to take his drawers, his socks.
He ain't coming up with $4 million. He's not.
You might get a free ringtone, but you can get that song on ringtone, I guess, and maybe get that streaming money.
Yeah.
Last but not least, before we move on, talk to me about false imprisonment. Is the false imprisonment her saying that she couldn't leave for 2 years? She couldn't leave.
So he was actually cleared on the claims of false imprisonment. So and constructive discharge, meaning he didn't really fire her, but all of the action says that he fired her. So he was cleared on that. It was the intentional infliction of emotional distress, sexual harassment, and non-payment of wages. That's where she won. That's where she won. So
say it again. She got what?
She got intentional infliction of emotional distress, sexual harassment, and non-payment of wages.
Wow.
So the payment of wages we talked about during the last show, Snoop's blunt roller gets $50,000 a year or $75,000. So she probably got, I don't know, $80,000, $100,000 for lost income. The sexual harassment and the emotional distress is where they awarded $4 million. And I think that amount is going to be significantly reduced on an appeal. And she'll probably wind up getting a judgment of less than $1 million, and she'll probably not even collect half of that.
Okay, gotcha. All right, everybody. Colette Davis, thank you so much for the super chat. Colette Davis, thank you for the super chat. Colette said, the men are handling things tonight, even without the women. Go, fellas. I see you. All right, Abby NYC says, some go away money. Yep, Colette. Deaf God says, Soulja lucky he's not in prison. Miss P says, how do you sue someone for an amount they do not have? I want to know that too. $4 million. He doesn't have that. How does that work? So I guess the judgment just exists as a judgment forever.
Forever and ever and ever. And in some states, you got to renew the judgments and do all of that. And you could place a lien on future earnings. You could place a lien on property. You could place that. But I mean, if I'm him and he loses this appeal and he has it and he doesn't have anything, then you do nothing. If you think you are going to make money in the future, then you file bankruptcy now. You're saying no.
You know why, right? One of the things that's not dischargeable in bankruptcy is damage you do to other people intentionally. So everything else, you're absolutely right. You run up your credit cards, whatever, your attorney wants to be absolutely right. Right before you make some money, you go ahead and file bankruptcy and get all those debts. But this is a debt that, it's like school loans and taxes. All right? I don't care what you file.
And school loans, people have found a way around it. I don't know how kosher or legit it is, but people have had it. But yes, any intentional tort, intentional bad is not going to get discharged in bankruptcy. So the emotional distress, and it's funny because it's intentional infliction of emotional distress, not going to get wiped. Sexual harassment, not sure on that one if it could get wiped. And non-payment of wages, I think that could get wiped. So
yeah, good point. So
sorry, Abby NYC, the MM family says his get high groupie turned bad. Brenda O says, can any of his future earnings be attached? I would go after his royalties.
You can. You can absolutely do that. It's called a continuing writ of garnishment.
All right, Queen of Everything says, if I'm not mistaken, Soulja Boy owns a few fast food businesses. SL says, is there a school for rolling weed? The School of Hard Knocks. Yes, there is. Benicia Phillips says, oh, the way Soulja Boy talk, he got way more than $4 million. He'll be able to pay that. He does talk a good game though. And One Friendly Face says, oops, I'm late. Hey guys, what's up, One Friendly Face?
Let's start it over.
All right, let's keep it going. This is going to be interesting. Keita Hill, the wife of Miami Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill, has filed for divorce just one day after a domestic dispute led police to their home. While no charges have been filed as of now, court documents do confirm irreconcilable differences as the ground for the divorce. All right, Jason, this is in your neck of the woods. Yep. Tell me, what's going on? Is Keita seeking to dissolve the marriage? Could she pursue spousal support or custody or anything like that?
Oh, she is absolutely pursuing spousal support and child support. She's actually getting both. It's part of there. In her filing in the divorce, she requested that she be allowed to stay temporarily in their Miami residence, and as part of child support. No, she said she be allowed. She be allowed. He gone. And that she asked the court to determine child support and some sort of spousal support until they can establish a parenting plan and a schedule. Now, you got to remember, Cheetah is his name. So Mr. Cheetah, Mr. Tyreek Hill, he filed for divorce, I think 6 months ago. And it was out there for like a day. And he's like, no, that was a mistake. I didn't mean it. How you didn't mean it, how you didn't do it, it makes no sense. So that's question number one. Question number two that I have here is that supposedly she came home from the gym. She approached him. She wanted to talk to him about the kids, and he snatched the baby like out of her arms. And he was saying, I have the same rights as a father as her mother, and I could take the baby wherever I want. They got into an argument, and it never became physical. And the police were called. They came out. Baby was in good health. No problems with the baby. No arrests were made, and no further investigation into it. Now, that means that for criminal, done, right? Not going to happen. But this divorce, she probably said, enough is enough. I don't want anything. And in Florida, all you have to say is irreconcilable differences. That just means we're not getting along anymore. And that's the grounds for divorce. Has to pay. They're going to do a balance. What does he make? What does she make? What does the child need? Who's making money? Where's the child going to spend? It's very formula driven. You could look in the statutes and you could go ahead. You take his income, you take her income, you take what she gave up, you take what he gave up, premarital, postmarital, you throw it all in. ChatGPT could probably figure it out for you in 30 seconds.
I did. I had to figure it out. All right. The amount of money was 50. What is it here? Sorry about that. It was $69,500 a month. So $70,000 a month, $840,000. That's what she's going to be entitled to in child support. Very likely.
But that's not spousal support.
No. Spousal support, they only were married for 5 months. Yeah. And so she's going to get a certain amount of money to sort of a very small amount of money, but to keep her going for a year, 6 months, but she's going to get a job. All right.
Well, she was working before him. Money, and right? She was working before him, and she's still working now. Yeah. And all of this. So remember, they got engaged in July of 2021, married in November of 2023, and in January of 2024, that's when he filed for divorce. And he claimed, like I said, it was a mistake.
Oh, so they were married more than 5 months.
Well, no. More than 5 months, I guess.
Yeah, they weren't married.
They got married in 2023.
November 2023 is when they got married. So he filed for divorce, but stopped it. And I probably know the attorney, and I'm not going to say his name, who probably did it. And he's a very good attorney, and there was no mistake making by that attorney. That's all I'm going to say.
That seems like a big come up if you ask me.
You're right. So we're married about 18 months.
And she ain't getting $69,000 or $70,000 a month. It ain't happening. She's probably going to get half, would be my guess.
She's going to get a lot, though.
She's going to get a lot. Look, $30,000 a month. I think we could all live decently on that.
Well, not if your man makes $68 million.
Well, exactly. So his salary is about $25 million with the Dolphins. The thing that's interesting, though, is, and I was really kind of curious about this because he's not going to be making that kind of money forever. Matter of fact, if he keeps acting a fool like this, he won't be making any money anymore. And so what happens in 3 years from now when he's not making $25 million, but he still owes the $35,000 a month?
You go in and you file a petition to have it if you ever have a change of circumstance financially, you could file a petition with the court to have a modification of your alimony, child support, and everything else. And the court will say, what's your basis? I used to make $25 million a year. Now I make $25 a year.
There you go.
And it will get reduced.
So let me ask you this question right here. Okay. Doesn't he have 7 other kids by 7 other women? Does that matter in the calculation of his child support?
Absolutely. I don't know if this is kid number 7 or if there are 7 others, but yes, absolutely, because you're going to take that into the factor of the amount of money that he makes, and if he's paying child support or spousal support or anything else to these other, yes, you get that taken off because that's considered an expense, and you can't make it more. You can't give one child, $1 million a year and give the other one nothing because you don't have the money. So the court is going to look at that. Yeah, I'm already paying child support for 7 other kids at $30,000 a pop, and the court's going to say, well, you got another one at $30,000 a pop, so go for it.
Yeah.
Can hers be higher because they were married, or does it matter?
And I think it can, and here's why. The idea is that the child, for why you get such high child support, is the idea that the child should not lose out because y'all couldn't get along. And they should be able to live the kind of life that they were otherwise living. Those other kids might not get as much because he was never living with their mama. They weren't living on the 35th floor or some big high rise. The idea is that this 5 or 6 month old kid, they got used to it, right? They got good to them, right? They're accustomed to this kind of living.
And so they end up living in the Porsche building. They're living in the Porsche building, right?
Exactly. I looked at these other kids just so we're clear here, and I don't even get this, all right? Because they get married in November 2023.
Yes.
That same year, he has 3 babies with 3 other women. Yes. February, March, and May. But this is the best one. He had a baby with a woman in November of 2024. So 3 months after they got married, he's still out in the streets. And by the way, 7 is the unofficial count. All right, we got a couple of babies out there. We're not sure. The Vegas odds are somewhere between 10 and 11.
And this baby was born, I'm pretty sure, in November of 2024 as well. And you could read more about it, or not read, but see more about it. I think they had a Netflix reality TV show, and I think it was called Wags, the Wife and Girlfriends to Riches.
You're right. I got that wrong.
She was on the show when she was pregnant.
Right.
When she was but yes, while she was pregnant, and I think either right before she gave birth or right after she gave birth, one of the cheetah's other babies was born. So hey, look, he's a cheetah. He runs through the forest.
He's a cheater, is what he is. It's called the cheater,
and he cheats on them all.
Wow. Well, here's what's interesting is, and Turnaways, tell me if I'm probably wrong here. Shouldn't there be almost some assumption of risk here? If you marry this fool, shouldn't there be something like, look, you knew what was going to happen here?
Yeah. I mean, look,
is assumption of risk a legal term that you're using, or are you just saying
it is? Is it? But not in this context. In tort law, personal injury law, it's a concept. Basically, it means that if you do some dangerous stuff, and bad stuff happens to you, it's on you. But somehow that doesn't apply to family law. So if you married a cheater and he cheats, you kind of get away with it.
Right. Assumption of risk. Think of skydiving. If you go skydiving and you get hurt while you're skydiving, you're kind of involved in a dangerous activity, and you started it anyway.
Oh. Now, what about this? I had to start, and I want to get your perception because you're down there. No, domestic violence, the NFL at least pretends that it's a serious thing. And if they got video, right? Remember, Ray Rice didn't play football ever again after that video surfaced. Tyreek Hill has another domestic violence conviction from 2015.
Yeah.
The NFL's going to do anything?
Well, on this one, they stopped. They stopped it. They said there was no physical. There was no showing of physical abuse. There was nothing there. So I have a feeling the NFL will probably, give him a little friendly reminder and send him, and they'll probably interview. But it doesn't sound like this has anything to do with other than the two of them can't get along. And she would have put that in divorce papers if it was something other. Irreconcilable differences filed by her is just like when a lawyer's not getting paid or you don't see eye to eye with a client, what do you file? Irreconcilable differences. So the same thing is, I have a feeling she's just done with him.
She can't reconcile his cheating.
Let's break this down in public, in the court of public opinion. Let's break this down in the court of public opinion, because all of this is not making any sense to me, right? If I was having issues with someone that I was married to that I just had a baby with, why don't you just go move out, live with your mother for a little while to see if you can work it out? Why are you so quick to run to the courts for resolution?
So you got to remember this. He's a high profile guy, makes a lot of money, and who knows what he could do? Who knows? And look, for all we know, this is something that they've had enough of each other, and they decided that this is what they want. Now, the court is going to require them, because children are involved, to go through some sort of counseling, to hear both sides, to make sure that, this is really can't be fixed. And look, based on the track record of these two, remember, he already filed for divorce once and pulled it back. So now she filed for divorce. She might pull it back too.
And let's be clear, the fact that she did the very next day makes me think that she been thinking about this for a while. All right. If someone comes to you, Jason, and says, "Hey, I want to divorce my husband tomorrow," you gonna have the papers drawn up? Right? It takes a little while, right?
Yeah.
You got to get an appointment, right? Yeah. So she put it this way, she would, those papers were coming out anyway, probably. All right.
Right.
They've been drawn up.
She probably said, "This ain't working. I want you out. I want to file divorce." And he picked up the baby, and he's holding the baby and pacing back and forth and saying all this and doing all this. And she probably said, I'm going for the divorce. Called her lawyer and said, "File those papers tomorrow."
It's so interesting to me because unless they were messing around before they got married, it's only been a year and a half. That's really wild. All right, Danielle Cameron coming through tonight with the super chat. She says, "Come on, guys, support the channel. Hit the like button. They work so hard to entertain us." Yes, they do. They surely do, everybody. Please, 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 everyone watching tonight, hit that like button. Also, please, if you are subscribed or not subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Invite some folks over if you are subscribed. Turn on your notifications, and as always, continue to jump down in the chat.
And Danielle Cameron, because of her, when book number 2 comes out by me at the end of May or beginning of June, I already have your mailing address. I'm going to send you another one.
Aw, and Jason, what you sending people, Sean?
I'm asking, you want to ask, and maybe one more favor, Danielle, since you got it like that. Could you adopt me? I've been looking for mama. I'm 57 years old. I'm a housebroken. I'm potty trained. But
she's too young to adopt you.
That's all right.
You said adopt you. You're crazy. All right, everybody. Last topic, or the last case in court tonight. Nicki Minaj was the victim of a swatting hoax in Hidden Hills, California. Emergency services were falsely called to her home with reports of a shooting, part of a growing trend where fake emergencies are reported to provoke armed police responses. Nicki and her family were safe, but the incident has sparked concern about celebrity safety as well as online harassment. All right, I'm going to throw this back to you, Attorney Carter. First of all, what is a swatting hoax?
Right. And that's exactly as you described it. Someone will call the police and say this horrible thing is happening at this place with guns. In this case, it said someone had shot a black woman, and there were people were still on the property with guns. So the hope is that when police come, they're obviously not going to come right with empty-handed. Or if you hear about this situation, they're going to bring out, they call it SWAT, because sometimes actual SWAT unit will come out. They'll all be gunned down, etc. And that always is a dangerous situation. We've had cases where actually, sadly, the person opens the front door. There was a case a couple of years ago where a guy opens the front door. He's playing Wii. He's got his remote control. But the police are so geared up that by the time when they see him with this device, they just start shooting because, one, the police, and two, because they've been told that this is a dangerous situation. So the sad part about it is this is the third time it's happened to Nicki Minaj.
Yep.
All right? People find out about a celebrity, and then they decide, for whatever reason, they're mad at her. Her BBL is bigger, whatever, and they decide that they now want to get her. This is something that I took a look at and figure out, what could we really do about this?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. What can she do legally?
So here's the thing about it is many states are passing laws that make it a felony. You can get 20, 30 years for doing this. That's helpful, but it doesn't help you after they've done it, right? Seattle, for instance, set up a swatting registry where if you think you're famous or people were going to get your number and start doing SWAT things, then you actually can get your number in there, your address in there. So when the police get a call that's from that address, they go, wait a minute, we're not really sure. But that's Nicki Minaj. Who shooting? You know what I mean? And so hopefully we can get better training in this regard. But it's sad though. I mean, we see this happen with kids in video games. One kid get mad at another kid, call out a SWAT report. Sadly, and the other thing is that I imagine in this case, a lot of times they do it from a burner phone. You're not going to do that from your home phone for sure, right? The cell phone that comes up that says, right, Judge Al Reynolds, you going to jail. Right. By the way, interestingly enough, we had this case just almost a couple weeks ago involving the rapper in Atlanta with the woman who called the false report in, and then remember he ended up getting killed. So this is something that happens sadly too often. And it's horrible because we want to believe victims. We want, certainly, if you call the police, you want them to show up. But we don't want a situation where you can literally put a hit out on someone and have the police do it for you.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, right? They come out all amped and all ready to go and ready to save the day. And, you know, the intention is to harm somebody there. And that's where it's got to get stopped. And look, the 2 payphones that probably still exist in the United States, you could use those for swatting. That's probably about it. But this is something that, look, if they know who the person is and they could track them down, those people are going to do some serious time. The problem is nobody's finding these people. No one knows what's going on. And this is something. Now, there are kids that have said, hey, my parents are abusing me. Come to the house. And they'll come and the parents aren't even home, or they're not there, or they're with a babysitter, or they bust down the door and the parents are, what the hell is going on? And it's not even the kids. It's the kid next door who's making the phone call.
Oh, wow. That's insane.
So people do this a lot of time for revenge, for whatever it is. If you want revenge on Judge Al Reynolds, then, you're going to go ahead and you're going to...
Don't give any ideas. Don't even put my name in revenge. Order in the court.
It's because you keep putting all those, celebrities in celebrity prison.
Right. All right. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, everybody. This is the part of the show where I'm going to make a special announcement. And I want to say to our beloved viewers and the esteemed panelists, both of the lawyers and actually all the lawyers that have worked with me, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for tuning in, for engaging with us, and also for making Celebrity Court of Public Opinion more than just a show. You've made it a movement, and you made it a space where culture meets accountability and where headlines, in my opinion, becomes real conversations with the backdrop of the law. I want to say to my powerful legal panel, your brilliance, your integrity, and dedication has elevated every episode. Your hard work without pay has gone noticed. You don't just interpret the law, you humanize it, and that's what I enjoy the most about the show. And for that, I'm deeply grateful. Your voices have brought clarity, empathy, and fire to every story that we've tackled. Fans, you are definitely 110% the heartbeat of this platform. Your comments, your feedback, your love, that's what drives us to do better, to go deeper, and to stay honest. Whether you're watching us from your phone, your couch, or your office break room, just know you are seen, and we definitely appreciate you, especially those who participate in the chat. With that being said, I am happy and also a little bit sad to announce that the Celebrity Court of Public Opinion, will be taking a short break. All right, we will be on hiatus from today, Friday, April the 11th, 2025, and we will be returning. Yes, we are going to definitely return, revamped and re-energized on Thursday, May 1st. Let me repeat that. Celebrity Court of Public Opinion will be on hiatus from today, April the 11th, 2025, and we will return, revamped and re-energized on Thursday, May 1st. This pause, I want you all to know, isn't goodbye. It's a glow up. We're using this time to elevate the show, tighten the production, and bring you the highest quality experience that you as our viewers and fans deserve. Because this court may go quiet, but when it comes back, we're coming back bolder, sharper, and even more unapologetically real. Until then, take care of yourselves, stay curious, and remember, in the court of public opinion, you are the jury. With gratitude and love, this all comes from me, your show creator and Judge Al Reynolds. All right, let's go into the verdict section.
I got a question, Your Honor. you said we're going to be coming back on Thursday, May 1st, so I'm pumped for that. Does that mean we're gonna switch up the days, or how's that going to work, Your Honor?
Ah, that lawyer in you, Jason. Yes, we're thinking about moving Celebrity Court of Public Opinion to Tuesday and Thursday nights. Tuesday and Thursday nights to accommodate our lawyers and also allow other lawyers to join us on the panel, because that Monday and Friday is a tough one. But definitely what we're thinking about right now is Tuesday and Thursday nights, same time, same channel. All right, let's get to these verdicts. First up, Rosie O'Donnell. Is she guilty or not guilty of abandoning her adopted daughter? Attorney Weiss, what say you?
I don't think she's guilty of abandoning her adopted daughter. I think she might be guilty of some tough love, but I don't think she's guilty of abandoning. And it seems like, you know, this 27-year-old adult is spending time with her birth mother, which she has every right to do. And I say Rosie O'Donnell, again, tough love, but I don't think she did anything wrong.
Okay, Attorney Carter.
Yeah, I think that Rosie should have taken some money out of the will and made her pay money into the will for all the damn stuff she sold of hers while she was out on there on crack. This is a good lesson for everybody, all right? Get along with your mama, all right? She fed, clothed you, etc., and she might have some money later, all right? She might hit the lotto, then you're going to feel stupid. Be nice to your mama.
That's true. All right, I'm Al. I'm the judge here at Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. We're going to find Rosie O'Donnell not guilty of abandoning her daughter. However, we're going to find her guilty for not trying to find a better way, because I believe that she could have structured the will in a way to show good faith, right? That if you get better, if you do X, Y, and Z, you definitely deserve the money that my family and estate has accrued for you. All right, next up, Boston Richey. Is Boston Richey guilty or not guilty of assaulting that lady? Ooh, my goodness. Is that Tatiana Chanel? All right, Attorney Weiss, what say you?
I can't get past the picture, so based on the picture, he's guilty. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, Attorney Carter.
It certainly looks like Jalen did that.
Oh, you Jalen. All right, I'm the Celebrity Court, and we're going to find Boston Richey guilty. Guilty because at the end of the day, you can't be putting your hands on a woman.
That's simple.
That's the rule. It's definitely not in the state of Texas, right?
Oh, geez.
That one in the state of Texas?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there's no excuse for that. I mean, it would never be an excuse, but certainly an excuse when a woman weighs 38 pounds.
Right. She clearly looks like she weighs 38 pounds. All right, next up, Soulja Boy. Soulja Boy, guilty or not guilty for holding that woman hostage and not paying her money for rolling those blunts, allegedly? Attorney Weiss, what say you?
They found guilty. So guilty.
All right, Attorney Carter.
You know, I've changed my mind about this. I really, at the beginning, thought, okay, he got what he deserved. If they found him liable for assault, for battering her, for false imprisonment, take all of his money. But basically they said, hey, you were a bad boyfriend / boss, right? We don't even, you sexual harassed, you didn't pay all the money. He said, that's not really my employee. She was just hanging out here. I was just kind of saying we a team. The lesson is, don't tell people that we a team, we rising together until you get something on paper. All right. that is just your girlfriend. That is just your person to hang out with. Don't run around talking about, we coming up together, because only one of you might come up.
All right, I'm Al. I'm the judge here at Celebrity Court. We're going to find Soulja Boy guilty for not paying that woman. Ain't no woman I know, especially not a black woman, going to live with you for 2 years, roll your blunts, give up the Tootsie Cat, fold your drawers, and all that, and not expect some money. And you just going to kick her out and say, go away. Nope, guilty. I find him guilty. All right, next up, Tyreek Hill. Jason Carter, Weiss Carter. Is Tyreek Hill guilty or not guilty of assaulting that woman?
I don't think he assaulted her. I wanted to look. The police department, they had run-ins with Tyreek Hill in the past. We know about it. It was publicized. So I think if they had an opportunity to flex some muscles against Tyreek Hill, they would. They would do it very, very intentionally, and they would take care and meticulously. So I think if he no charges, no nothing, I don't think he assaulted her. I think they're ready to go their separate ways, and I think this is something that was it. And again, if it happened on a Tuesday and she's filing papers on Wednesday, there's no way that she hadn't had that thought about for at least a week, 2 weeks, or a month.
All right, Attorney Carter.
That fool is guilty of being a cheater and outrunning birth control. And what he need to do is learn to wrap something up. The thing, by the way, we're not mentioning here is that the picture I saw is kind of, he had almost a Michael Jackson moment. He's on the balcony with the baby. They're on the 35th floor, by the way. This ain't like, my two-story house, right? They're on the 35th floor. And so at the very least, if you're going to cheat on your wife and have babies outside the marriage, then keep the baby inside the house. All right, don't put him on the balcony.
Yeah. All right, I'm Alan. I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. We're going to find Tyreek Hill not guilty, but we're going to find Keita Hill guilty of being smart. She got out of there, and she's taking $60,000 a month, allegedly, or close to it with her. Not a bad 16, what is it?
18 month, yeah.
Run. Not a bad 18-month run.
Keita, call me. Gay marriage is legal in Florida. We can work that out for 18 months.
All right, last up, Nicki Minaj. Well, is she guilty or not guilty of pissing somebody off? That's calling the police, talking about she got deaths on her property. Attorney Weiss, what say you?
She's guilty of being a victim in this one. And it's sad that somebody went to this length to do that. Not once, not twice, but this is the third time. She needs to go ahead and let the police know, or hire her own security, or do something, because God forbid someone shows up there with a weapon drawn and then
the police not come. Yeah, what if that happens? All right, Attorney Carter, what say you?
I couldn't say it any better than that. And hopefully, I think the West Hills, whatever, police, next time that you call the fourth time, maybe you slow down a little bit. Maybe call her. Say, hey, we don't want to come out there again.
Yeah, why don't they do that? I would think that they would have a sophisticated enough system when you have a high-profile celebrity like her, that you would have some type of touch point, if you will, in those type of emergencies.
Right.
I don't think that's just me. All right, I'm out.
Well, you got to remember, this is a state agency, so the state agency wouldn't probably have that type of money. She might have something set up where it's a code word like fake or something like that. But because it's asking a lot of the police department. Because now all of a sudden you're giving people with money and fame a higher privilege, and
that makes sense. All right, I'm Alan.
Before you get to your last word, Reverend Judge, Your Honor, I do want to say this to algoriters, because a lot of you are worried. You're thinking maybe we won't come back. I promise you we're coming back, and here's why. Because if we don't, I'm suing Al, all right, for wrongful termination, constructive discharge. I'm trying to get my 4.2 foot. I don't roll some bus I know that. So you're gonna pay. You're gonna come back. I know that.
You'll be waiting a long time. All right, and I'm the judge here in Celebrity Court. We're gonna find Nicki Minaj not guilty of anything except for pissing somebody off. Unfortunately, that's just so ugly, though. Ugly.
Not cool. Not cool.
Not cool at all. All right, guys. As we adjourn tonight's session, one thing is clear: when celebrity clashes with legality, the court of public opinion never goes into recess. Whether it's a daughter divorcing her last name or a wife walking away after the camera stopped rolling, these aren't just headlines. They're human stories painted in the harsh light of fame. We must ask, why does the entertainment industry continue to celebrate men accused of violence until the verdict is undeniable? And when women speak up, like Rosie's daughter, and when women speak up, like Rosie's daughter, like Soulja Boy's former assistant, why is their pain only taken serious after it's profitable? We live in a time where crisis goes viral, but accountability gets filtered. And if we don't start demanding more from our artists, from our athletes, and from ourselves, then the next season of this drama will look exactly like the last. The court isn't about being right, it's about being real. And until justice becomes the trend, we'll keep showing up with the facts, the shade, and the truth. This has been Celebrity Court of Public Opinion. Court is now dismissed. But the conversation isn't. Have a good night, everybody.
And we will be back.
We will be back.